with Truth, she, even though she was born in Houston, they had her living in LA. Now she live in Vegas. Every couple of weeks I was flying to the airport. Even if Truth didn't show up, I still was there to make sure I did my part, and just to let her know at any given time, Pop's gonna be there.
Trae Tha Truth, welcome to Rap Dads, man.
What up, man? How you doing?
I'm amazing, bro. It's good to see you.
Yeah, always love.
Yes. So, tell me about the whole crew.
Okay. My oldest is Jared. Next to the oldest is Danico. And then my youngest son is Houston. And then Truth is the baby.
That's amazing. All got great names, too.
Everything got meaning.
That's amazing. So where were you in your life when you became a father?
Crazily, I started being a father before being a father. Me and my son Danico's mother, she had already had a son. When we met, he was a little under a year, right around there. And he was taking it in his mind. And that's what led to me having my first child. By the time of when Jerry was around, that's when I was trying to really get the rap off the ground and everything else. And my career started taking off when I ended up having my first son, which was Danico. And I was well established by the time Houston came. And here you are.
Word.
5 years ago is when Truth came. So, yeah.
Right.
All of them had different impacts in my life, though.
So I love that you mentioned that your first entry point into fatherhood was, stepping up. What do you think that relationship, how did it impact you having to step into that?
He definitely has a father. I don't want to take that. I mean, but I'm his daddy too. So I think just me being a real big homie in general, I naturally take people under my wing. And
talk about
at that time, that was my little guy. He was me, you know what I'm saying? Moved off my ways, my actions. He did everything similar to me, so again, he naturally my first child. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just something that needed to be done, and at the time when me and his mom was together, we can't be a team if we all ain't rocking,
Absolutely. So talk about the difference between being, a boy dad and now having that girl being a girl dad. What can you say is the difference?
It's a lot. You have your goods and your funny moments. All my kids love me to death, and I love all of them to death. With boys, we have fun. I'm a little more rougher.
Right.
And, they get exposed to a lot of other things other than, like, they don't have to be hid away from the world, you know what I'm saying? With my daughter, you tend to become a lot more protective. In my case, she probably softened me up a whole bunch, you know what I'm saying? And that's something that people could never believe.
Absolutely.
But then with my boys, like, I can look at my boys and they can tell if I'm feeling some way, yeah. I can look at her and she gonna look back like, I ain't trying to hear nothing you talking about right now. And that's just how it is,
Right.
Girls definitely, she definitely know she the woman in my life, you know what I'm saying? So she handled it like that.
I love that, man.
She called my phone, it's like she's the boss that I got to check in with.
Right.
Really. Yeah.
So I feel like as a father, I know specifically on my journey, I learned a lot more from my failures than I did from the things that I was successful at. What would you say is your biggest fatherhood failure turned lesson?
One of my big things that I always regret was at the time I was in my career, like with Nico, I wasn't able to be as hands-on as much as, which in the beginning, yeah. But once you get to an age of going to school and stuff, now it becomes just on the weekends or what weekends I'm in town. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's one of my things as far as time. Like, even when you feel like you've even lost time with that, it transitions over to the other kids, you know, because now I try and spend as much time as I can with all. And with the young ones, I try and make sure I don't lack. I try and balance it, you know. But that was just a learning process because at the end of the day, I still had to get out there to provide for family, point blank, period. I think that, and I think I don't really have emotion like that, you know. The most emotion you can get is me venting through my music or anger. And I think learning now, just through my daughter, you got to be a little more, she making me a little more soft and a little more open and understanding. Because, you know, her daddy was a rough shell, a brick wall.
Yeah.
You know, he was a highly respected street cat. So naturally, I tend to be rough around the edges. But now it's like I'm understanding. I'm trying to get a lot more understanding amongst my kids, period. But the good thing is, throughout all our relationship, I expose them all to the real. So stuff that another child could make them curious about, it won't excite them because I hadn't exposed them to it.
I love that.
Houston been driving since he was 11 years old. You see what I'm saying? So it's stuff, of course, other people may be like, oh, as parenting, you shouldn't do it, but you can't tell me how to raise my kids. Like, I have the homeboy relationship with my kids. I don't whoop them. I'm not doing none of that. Like, if something going on, holler at me. What we got going on? What's this? And, you know, that's what make our bond unique. And you know, I think everything about how I am a father with them is great. I think mostly what I will work on when time is able is to even spend even more time with them. Cause I'm a present father. Like, you gotta, with Truth, you know, even though she was born in Houston, you know, they had her living in LA. Now she live in Vegas. Every couple of weeks I was flying to the airport. Even if Truth didn't show up, I still was there to make sure I did my part, you know. And just to let her know at any given time, Pop's gonna be there. He gonna do any and everything he can, you know. And for me, that's a blessing because you got people who stay 3 minutes away from their kids that won't ever go visit them. They'll drive by their house like they never seen in their life. You see, it's to the point now people at the airport, they not even recognizing me as Trae the rapper. They just, oh, he on his way to get his daughter right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's amazing.
But the funny part is sometimes when I get back on that plane and she not with me, they'll damn near have a sad look on their face. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Something told me just I shared my kids with the world, you know. So it's like everybody watched them grow and be raised, you know what I'm saying? But that's just the bond that we all got.
I'm telling you, like, just having this conversation with you, hearing you say stuff like you've flown to another city just at the chance to see your daughter, and sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't. Like, I mean, I feel like the men who are going through this similar situation are going to hear that and definitely.
But see, that's why I said, man, you know, however God pan out my situation, I'm grateful. But even taking a step past that, it is a lot of people that don't have the voice, they don't have the funds, they don't even have as much faith as they should have. Because you know what, this is something that people latch on to me about when they watch me fight for my child, and I got very vocal with it because I felt like, man, this ain't right, this ain't fair, you know what I'm saying? Because all I'm really doing is fighting to be a daddy. And I think, like I say, after the situation of what I'm dealing with myself, I'm definitely gonna take the steps to try and to help fathers, because you know, and then again, help mothers too, because it can go both ways.
Right.
But for the most part, yeah, I'm gonna definitely help fathers, because what happens is, what I've been noticing, and I used to be like, man, why they just walk out the child life and just say F it, right? But sometimes you can be pushed to the limit to where you really ain't got a choice, and you just like, man, I'm throwing in the towel.
Right.
Now, do it make it right? I can't say it do it don't. Me, I just ain't. I don't know how to throw in the towel. But I can understand and and empathize with
Right.
why they did, because it gets frustrating. You know what I'm saying? Because you can put yourself in all kind of crazy situations still fighting for your child. So I want to try and figure out a way that, we just level the playing field, man.
Right.
And, I feel like those who rightfully deserve a chance should be given a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Those who don't care and don't want it, then okay, cool, we get past and go a different direction.
My mantra is always whatever is best for my child wins, regardless of how inconvenient, expensive, whatever it is. If it's best for my child, then I'll take the L every time so that they don't ever have to.
But I'm saying, I think that's a mandatory, untold rule.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just understood. If I got to sacrifice and lose everything on earth to make sure my kids like that got to get done. There's no other option for that. It's crazy that I'm even doing this interview with y'all. So when they even hit us to do it, the title of y'all, I'm representation of that. You got
1,000%.
If you go look at interviews, I'm one of the first few that bring my kids on interviews. With my disabled stuff, I'm one of the first one to expose that to the world, to let people know it's okay if you do have that.
Right.
And people that know how to handle you and how to treat the situation. A lot of times people were scared to come out and say that they may have a child disabled or anything, because you don't know who's going to be cruel, who's going to laugh, anything, And with me, I tend to go against the rules and just go about it my way. Like right now, I have my son holiday, which is a holiday they ended up giving us, and it's special needs day in the city of Houston. You have thousands of kids and families coming out that get to enjoy life, without worrying about people looking at them or feeling some way.
Right.
They kids can be just as normal as any other child.
Right.
Because I feel they all equal.
Share a little bit about your journey being the father of a disabled child. What are some things that you've experienced that have made an impact on you and bonding with your son?
First and foremost, I commend his mother, Tasha. That's my ace song, because hands down, I give her the trophy on that note, because at the time Nico was born, I'm in my prime.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm running around. I'm balancing. My kid, any of my kids know what they need. I'm there. But as far as the physical, consistent time, I have to tip my hat to her, because as I'm doing what I'm doing, she was holding it down, making sure stuff was situated. And I think it's it's unique situation. Like, on a funny note, I still pick up my child to this day. He's damn near grown, you know what I'm saying? And she'll be more let him go do that on his own, you know what I'm saying? So we have our dynamics, but at the end of the day, the common goal is to make sure we create a way and create a lane for all my kids, like his foundation is unique and gifted, and so anything that I'm doing in that realm of bringing light to disabilities and bringing light to show people that they're not alone, because believe it or not, in any city, nobody really knows that it's so many others that's going through the exact same thing or have disabled children, right? Like when I did Special Needs Day, I partnered up with Houston First and did at the George R. Brown Convention Center. We didn't know who was going to show up. We'd have been happy if 100 kids showed up,
right.
When you see thousands of them, you don't know that's how many people be tucked away in the house,
Right.
And it's not just little kids. You have young adults that's still disabled, so they still have to be cared for. So it's a lot of different dynamics when it comes to that aspect.
Right. So one of the big character traits of Trae Tha Truth is definitely your philanthropy, definitely how involved you are in the community. What kind of things are you doing as a father to impart that, that giving spirit back into your kids?
The crazy thing, nothing. They naturally have the same heart I do, so they do it on their own. And at times, I'd be highly proud. At times, I'd be ready to kick their behind, like, don't give everything away.
I love that.
But nothing, because I feel like I never felt the need to put that responsibility on them. but it's a blessing that they want to do exactly what I do on their own.
Absolutely.
And then when people go to ask me when did I start, like I tell people, I never started. I've always done this because it's just naturally in my heart. And my DNA and spread to my kids is naturally their heart.
On the next episode of the Rap Dads Show.
And it was weird, like we're talking like Sky, she's like, well, if you come out of a black vagina, then you're more black, right? It's like this whole